Hi, everyone. From me, Brent Graham. It's 12 o'clock on a Friday, not 9 o'clock on a Thursday night. And it's time for the Handicap Rugby Chat that matters. Well, the beauty about doing the program at a different time, and I'll quickly give the reason. I was at a sports quiz last night, very, very well organized by MSC Sports and a guest of PokerBet. So thanks for that, guys. But the reason, the big advantage of doing the show a bit earlier is I get to expand the network of guys I have on the show a bit, because I can't really expect a guy like Steve here to get up at 5 a.m. to come on the normal version of the Handicap, because he's, of course, in New Zealand. So, Steve, great to have you back on the show, mate. I've noticed you on Twitter and on the Driving Ball show getting quite active again. So I gather that the World Cup juices are starting to flow.
Oh, for sure. It's that time of year again, isn't it? It's time to get back into the action. Hey, I've got more time, more doing stuff, getting out and making a lot more content at the moment. So, yeah, really enjoying this time and getting into the Rugby World Cup. Can't wait for it to start. But less than 2 weeks to go now. So, yes, go time.
Excellent. Well, Mark Dunphy joining us in the live chat. Say, nice Leinster shirt, Brent. Yeah, Mark, I wonder who gave this one to me. Thanks, mate. That's still one of my absolute favorites. Of the two Leinster shirts, Mark sent me two Leinster shirts. I do love the blue sort of regular URC one, slightly more, but great shirts, both of them. Right, we've got quite a few guys joining us in the live chat already. Just a reminder, if you're not yet subscribed to our newsletter, there's a link down in the description box below. I'll be sending the Best Bet newsletter out later on today sometime. Also got some quite exciting news about a new bookmaker in town in South Africa. So click on that and give us a subscription there. But Steve, before we get into the games itself, of course, we've got the big New Zealand-South Africa clash taking place at Twickenham, of all places, later. But just talk to me about the atmosphere in New Zealand at the moment, because I can only imagine a year ago, you guys must have been pretty bleak with the way things are going and the World Cup looming. But fast forward 12 months and a couple of coaching changes, and wow, New Zealand are actually the favourites at the moment.
Yeah, it's weird how it's all turned around, isn't it? It's, the coaches changing, assistant coaches, let's be fair. I mean, we know who's really running this team. But yeah, the feeling's changed. It's changed a lot. It's a lot more positive, but it's what comes with winning, isn't it? You win a few games, all your games, especially, and you get a bit of a run on, and, you know, the country gets behind a lot more. We're very, very harsh, as you guys probably know, much like you guys probably are over there as well, on the team. So a couple of losses, the questions get asked, you know, people come under scrutiny, stuff like that. You get winning formulas. People know how you change. People can see the change in formats and the change in plans, the change in game styles, improvements in certain players and aspects of their game. So, yeah, the people are pretty astute around here. They watch, they look, and as much as you see the crowd numbers around New Zealand rugby aren't great at the moment in certain things, but the support and the fan base is certainly not gone anywhere. And this World Cup has got everyone well and truly hyped up for that. And they're riding firmly on the back of the All Blacks. And with the way things go, with the Wallabies, injuries, Springboks, the way they're playing, with the French now as well, with the DuPont thing, people are watching this more than I kind of expect, because New Zealand's pretty blinded when it comes to other countries, especially the Northern Hemisphere. We don't really notice so much what Ireland are doing, what France are doing. Even now, more so, you guys in South Africa as well, with limited exposure to your domestic sides that we used to have. So that you guys come here through the middle year sort of internationals, and we go, oh, okay, so that's what England's made about. The World Cup has come along, and that's normally where we get the exposure. But I think people are watching a bit more closely this year. I think people are desperate for a big World Cup from the All Blacks.
Excellent. Mark Dunphy coming in. He's Irish, of course. New Zealand looking good, but they haven't faced France or Ireland yet. I still think they will be tough to beat. Yeah, I must say, I'm starting to think New Zealand are going to be very tough to beat indeed. But that leads us nicely into the first topic of conversation on this show, Stephen. We got New Zealand now playing at Twickenham against South Africa tonight. So, I mean, I expect there's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere at the ground. But you spoke about, teams starting to find form and winning games. Ultimately, this is a warm-up fixture. So you'd have to say, first up, that I suppose the result, the losing coach is going to say it was a warm-up. But I get the feeling both teams are going to be giving it 100% to win this game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, what surprised me most about this game was that both sides have pretty much, maybe bar 2-3 positions, gone full strength and throwing out almost their best team they can put out. I do like the fact that South Africa are going more with that experimental side of Cannon Moody in the midfield. I think that's really exciting. Whether that would be their first choice, it's hard to say that would be, but I like that dynamic. I guess it's the fact of that attacking aspect of having almost a back four throughout your back line. So I like that. What concerns me about the All Blacks, and I guess Springboks might be in the same boat, is that I've talked about Intermac already and how much of a big blow that was for the French team. I can just see the same with so many aspects of this All Black team as well. The likes of a Richie Mwanga. He's my big one. Oh, man, he is really my big one. He's not the be-all and end-all world class, but just the fact that they have gone all out for this game. And I was questioning it this morning. Going into this game, who's going to really be too upset if they lose? Yes, it's a grudge match. Yes, it's that old New Zealand-South Africa rivalry, but look at the bigger picture. And I ask people this too. It's like, you're going into this game, no matter what country you are, say, you're Ireland, you're playing the Springboks or you're playing the All Blacks in a World Cup game. Would you prefer to win this game here, or would you prefer to win your opening game, albeit for the All Blacks against France? That's a massive fixture, massive fixture for a World Cup. And it dwarfs this fixture here that's coming up in the morning, and who's going to look back at this and say, well, at least we beat the Springboks in the build-up to the World Cup. It just doesn't. Yeah, that really baffles me. They've gone so full strength about it. So, But looking at the matchup, though. Yes, sorry?
No, I was going to say, Henrik Swart is agreeing with you. He says both sides will hold back. And I imagine there will be changes in that made fairly early. But he says especially the box. And I just want to, Henrik, funny enough, I've been saying the same thing to a few people. I think the team that's almost able to go more full strength for this game to me is the All Blacks, because they got their opener against France in 2 weeks. But after that, they very much don't have any other games that you could see them losing. So in other words, they need to almost, I think, play their full strength side and give it a real go here. Whereas the Boks, obviously, yes, they've got to be ready for Scotland, but they've also got Ireland coming, down the line as well. I just get the feeling, if I had to say on percentage forms, that, All Blacks would be like 80% for this game, and the Boks would be putting in maybe closer to 50 or 60, if that makes any sense. What do you think of that? And relate that then to the betting, because we have New Zealand narrow favourites here, bearing in mind they also beat South Africa pretty convincingly when they played them last time. How are you leaning in that as far as the odds go?
Yeah, it surprised me when I looked at them just earlier today that the betting here is very much focused on, and it throws back to their previous matchup, but it's focused on the first 10, 20 minutes of the game. There's a lot of options of starts and getting X points for the first 20 minutes of the game, which was kind of surprising to me that they've gone that way. But yeah, this is tough. It's tough and it's tight, because I do agree with what you say in the chat there. How team, they are going to hold stuff back in terms of playing style, but it doesn't matter how much you hold back. It only takes one injury to have a massive impact on how your team plays. And the All Blacks have got a lot of players, because we've been playing pretty much full strength all season long. All through the Rugby Championship, we've been pretty much going all out. The matches you thought we might rest and rotate a little bit, second test against the Wallabies after already claiming the Bledisloe Cup, I thought, okay, maybe this is a chance. Trophies in the cabinet. We're safe. Losing the second game really doesn't matter at all. Completely changed things up. They made a couple of little changes, which went horrifically badly, which leads to more concern about if something goes wrong to certain players. But yeah, we've been playing that full strength team all season long. So I think that 15, albeit 23, are pretty well set. I think, opposite from my perspective, I think the Springboks they have more options to rotate their team, because they have, I think, a higher level of squad, as in the whole 33 men. Yeah. If more, you can still use here. So that level, general sort of evening out level, was a lot higher in that Springbok squad. I believe the All Blacks drop off quite considerably in a couple of positions, 9, 10, especially if you lose your key guy. Through that midfield, we've played Rico and Geordie Barrett all season long through there. That new combination, no one else has played there hardly at all. That back row, Ardie Savea has worn the number 8 jersey all day, every day for the All Blacks this season. So there's a couple of numbers there. I do think full strength team, the All Blacks probably do consider themselves a bit of favourites, and it should be close. It really, really should be close as well.
Well, Darren, you're saying you're enjoying a lunchtime betting preview. I must admit, I'm quite enjoying this. Maybe we'll make a regular Friday lunchtime, and then we can link up with the New Zealanders and the Aussies. A bit of difference in the live chat. Mark Dumpy saying New Zealand by 7+. S Shark saying he reckons a box on the plus. So I guess maybe what this really comes down to, guys, is this is a warm-up game. Let's not get too involved. Let's not throw too much money at it. But I'm going to throw a bet out there that I've just found on Sporting Bet before the game. There was lots. I went to the sports quiz last night. Of course, there was loads of debate around like Lebok at fly half, and will Pollard be back and all the rest of it. There's a spread, and I'll ask your opinion on this. But there's a spread on Manie Lebok over or under 8.5 points. In other words, 3 penalties or 2 penalties and 2 conversions. What do you think? I'll tell you what I think. I think Manie's going to kick well tomorrow. I don't think he's that far off from becoming a good kicker. He's inconsistent and he needs lots of work. But I remember Pollard certain times early in his career was not always the greatest kicker. And I think we're going to see a good display from Manie tomorrow. I'm going 9 points or more. Can I tempt you to have a bet on that, or would you rather sit that one out?
No, I definitely agree with you on that. I'd go 9 or more in a flash, not even thinking about it. It's not many points for a goal kicker. Like you say, it's really only a couple of penalties and a couple of conversions. There's going to be tries. There's surely going to be tries. The thing is, I look at this game as well, is the fact that this is why I think that the teams are going quite full strength, is it's the money aspect. Promoters have looked at this game and they've targeted Twickenham, packed house, pre-World Cup, money, money, money. And they've said, I guarantee to the Springboks and the All Blacks management side of things, we need a performance. We need a spectacle because we want to pack Twickenham again. We want to bring teams here and pack this out. This is a cash cow for us. So I expect there may be points in this. There may be a lot of points in this because they're going to go out and play. I just think that intensive test match sort of grind down might be a little bit lost for this one, as we can see, almost like a sort of barbarian style of have fun, run, score points, excite the crowd.
And it's interesting. There's a few comments in the live chat I want to bring up here, because I think what you just said now links in. Now, Daniel is also from New Zealand, so he's not sure why we, the All Blacks, are playing such a good team. Is they close to the World Cup? And then while I was reading that, you were talking about the fact that this is a money spinner and all of that. As important as the World Cup is, and that's the be-all and end-all, I think New Zealand also probably wanted to avoid a situation where they put out something of a second-string side here and maybe took a bit of a hiding from a box side. In other words, they want to do the occasion justice. If you've got 82,000 people or whatever in the ground, you want to do it justice. The other thing, Daniel, which I think about New Zealand, and I sort of touched on it earlier, they've got France in their opening game. An important game, no doubt about it. But remember the opening game for the Springboks last year. They lost to New Zealand. They still won the Cup. Now, their game against France, win or lose, they're going through to the quarterfinals. Win or lose, they're probably going to play Ireland or South Africa, possibly Scotland in the quarter. So nothing that's going to happen in that first game is going to change anything really for New Zealand. Whereas if you look at the box, lose to Scotland and we're in major, major problems. Win to Scotland, we're more than likely through. But even then, it's not definitely a done deal. So just some thoughts on that. Monsieur Arteta coming in, he's saying box total points in this one. Now, I'm pleased you brought that up, Monsieur, because Southpaw on the Good for the Game forum, he's taken a bet over 2.5 box tries at, I think, around the price I saw now was 17 to 20. He may have got it at a bit of a better price. And now, Steve, to bring you back in there, you mentioned the fact that there would be tries. Do you think we're going to get a high-scoring game? We've got a points line of 48.5. What are your thoughts here? Are we actually going to get a free-flowing game? And if so, will Manie be taking kicks at posts? My view is South Africa will use every opportunity possible to let Manie have a go at posts to hopefully build his confidence. What are your thoughts around the points?
Yeah, points-wise, I would like to take that on. What I want to see is points, definitely. Quite often that transpires quite differently to what actually happens out there on the paddock, but we can all hope and dream that the game plays out how you would like it to. But yeah, being the spectacle and being what it is, being this close to a World Cup, I think we need to go out there and see these teams play and play some attractive, exciting, good rugby as well. I mean, 50-odd points, it's not a huge margin over the whole entire game, is it? And the Springboks and the All Blacks generally do play points games. They generally like to score tries. They take the points. The Springboks generally always take the points when they can. And I expect that to stay the same. But there will be opportunities. There will be opportunities. They will look to corners. And it depends how the game plays out. And game plans as well. That's what, from an All Blacks perspective, is the actual game plan they're going to use. Because we've seen quite a few different ones throughout them during the season. The kicking game is the biggest one, and what sort of kicking game they're going to employ against the Springboks side, whether they take that contestable, continually going to the air, somewhere they can contest and not give free ball back to the opposition. That sort of style is going to lead to tries for both teams, I think, in the end. Or like we saw in that first half against the Wallabies, which was a disaster, and we hope we never see again, but that long kicking game for territory is something else they still have in their back pocket. But I think the occasion, the way it's being wrapped up and the way it's going, I think we're going to see points. I would certainly go. I'd certainly go above that. Plus on that one for me.
Yeah, I've also got a feeling Twickenham also such a lovely ground to play at, and tends to be a high-scoring ground when you've got teams that can score tries. Unfortunately, that excludes England at the moment when it comes to playing at Twickenham. We'll get a final comment on this game before moving on. If Moody doesn't work so well at 13, they'll change. Yes, plenty of opportunity. And, Steve, you touched on the whole Moody thing at 13. He has played 13 before, not at this level, but he does look like a 13, doesn't he? And I guess he's not the first choice at the moment, but if he puts in a blinder against New Zealand, he could suddenly find himself first choice, because at the moment he's knocking hard on the wings door, and the problem is you've got two really good wings there already. Yeah, Creel is also very solid, obviously, at outside centre, but that could be something that Rassie's looking at. If he plays a blinder, we might just find him in the starting 15 against Scotland. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, it was that little stanza he played against Argentina, wasn't it, when Lacanio arm got injured? I think it was that he come on and everyone was like, oh no, what are we doing? We've got no other option here. And then pleasantly surprised, I think, from a Springboks perspective at how he developed throughout that game. So I think he looks good. It's going to be a test. I do like the fact that it adds a bit more of a dynamic to that midfield of the Springboks, and it adds a different dynamic for an opposition against Geordie and Rico. So you've got very attacking guys in those two, but you've got Geordie as more of that brick wall, which I think you're going to see sort of like an Esterhazen sort of character. You're going to have similar guys. Rico, of course, ex-wing, much like Moody. So you're going to have attacking 13s, bit of a brick wall 12s, and it should be similar styles, but very contrasting at the same time. So I'm intrigued to see how that battle goes. But yeah, if he does put on a blinder, let's be honest, it just adds more depth to that pool of Springboks rugby. Yes. It's kind of mean to look at and go, another player they can stick in a different position. Great. So now they can play Mapimpi and Arisa and Moody, and goodness knows everyone's out there. And Colby, where's he going? Such a talented bunch. It's crazy.
Right, let's move on to the next game. Then we've got England here, minus 11.5 point favourites against Fiji. Lots of talk about Fiji because they're obviously in the group with Australia and Wales. And with Australia and Wales having quite well-documented problems, people are saying, and I know quite a few on our forum have taken, I think there was 18-1 that they would win the group. I suspect that's probably still around the 14, 15-1 mark. Fiji, I guess this is the sort of game where if Fiji are probably going to be looking for a pretty big performance, or punters will be looking to Fiji to put in a good performance, let's put it that way, to sort of make you think that they do have a chance of rolling over one of the big guns. What are your views on this one?
Yeah, this is a big match for Fiji, isn't it? They didn't really go too well last weekend. They were put under the pump a little bit, so that's going to be a test of how they come back. But I think this is definitely a match that Fiji will like their chances a bit more than what they come up against the French it was last weekend. So they have the talent, they have the ability. I think they've developed very well over the last month or so of their build-up. So they're looking pretty good. And England's in a bit of disarray here, aren't they? England are not in a happy place. How much publicity is it going to have with all these red cards going on? You got Vunipoola's out, you got Farrell's out. England's a bit of their own worst enemy at the moment. So this is a great chance for Fiji to really put a bit of a line in the sand as to how good they're going to be, put in a challenge to a tier one nation. And that pool is wide open. I'll tell you what, that pool, how good would it be to see Fiji in those quarterfinals? I mean, Australia, Wales, watch your backs because they are dangerous. I just hope that they can build that continuity that they need to actually put it all together in a performance, 80 minutes, get the structure right, but still maintain that attacking flair. What I want to see from Fiji in this game is points. So if I was looking at this from Fiji, I'll be like, just go out and score lots of points. Put the pressure on England to play an attacking brand of rugby, because typically that's not really what they like to play. They like to control and keep the ball on their own terms. Force them into doing something different. Make them uncomfortable. Play your style, Fiji, which is to go out there, have the flair, have the explosive ability, and put pressure on them that way into bringing into your game. And I think they could trouble them. They really could.
I must say, what you say there is very much in line with the sentiment that I've seen on our forum and on Twitter this week. A lot of people thinking that Fiji can not only beat the handicap here, but could really, really trouble England in this match. Mark Dunphy also pointing out rugby, aside from their performances, in a bit of a mess at the moment. They've got injuries and suspension. So a lot of sentiment towards Fiji. I must say, a game I am really looking forward to. Let's move into the next game. Italy minus 12.5 against Japan. Steve, for me, Japan, not the same side they were before the 2019 Rugby World Cup. They seem to have lost ground a little bit, whereas Italy, I think, are playing some pretty decent rugby. Convince me one way or another on the handicap here, because I don't have a firm view.
Gee, this is a hard one. I looked at this one when I reviewed it yesterday, and I look at it and I go, yep, Italy should do this one quite comfortably. And then when you add in the 12.5 points, it just goes to make you think even more. Japan haven't shown, you're right, what you say, they haven't shown what we kind of expect from them. They've been disappointing, I think. They've been below standard, subpar. They struggled in the Pacific Nations Cup, scratchy couple of victories, dealt with pretty easily by Fiji. So they're not quite at that next level up that we saw from them 4 years ago, which is disappointing. And like say on Italy has performed, I think, in patches pretty good against better opposition. The big thing about this game, which I found difficult to really pick, is Japan's played Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, and sides like that, whereas Italy's been playing Scotland and other Tier 1 nations at a grade above. So yes, they've not been winning, but their quality and their level of rugby they've been playing has been a lot higher. So with that, I think Italy's performing out on par, if not a bit better. For me, Japan's performing below par and under expectation. So with that, I'd say I'd give Italy this one. I think they might do a good job here. They have a good little core squad. They're one of those teams that you kind of they overachieve what you expect of them, I think. And with the talent they've got, the youth and the players they've got coming through, they could be an exciting team. It's going to be a struggle for them still in the future, but heading into this World Cup, I think Japan should look out.
Well, overachieving what you expect of them. Exact opposite words what my mom used to say about me at school. I can tell you that much.
Me too.
Just my view on this one is that I agree with your comments here. If anything, I'm leaning Italy, but I think this could be a game to look at points. I haven't looked at conditions, and I haven't seen a points line. Unfortunately, I should have actually checked PokerBet before I came on. I know they're normally out early, but I'm sure some of the guys in the live chat will mention if there are any points. Let's go on to the next game. Scotland up against Georgia. Scotland 27 down against France a couple of weeks ago. I was on France minus 16. I was on France over 32.5. The money was in the bank, let me tell you. Well, in the end, it took a French penalty to win 30-27. They also came from well behind to beat a weaker French team the previous week. They now face a Georgia side that hammered Romania and beat USA last week. Ooh, a big handicap, this one. I mean, I would say if both teams are going at it, if this was a World Cup game, I'd be leaning Scotland. But, Steve, I think Georgia can beat the handicap. I just think it's the sort of game where the Scots are going to try a few things and Georgia might be able to sneak in. What do you think?
Yeah, what's interesting about this one is Scotland's actually gone a pretty decent sort of team as well, which kind of the fact of if they're going to go off that B team or just kind of rotation and throw a bit of rest for those key guys out the window. So they've got a good team, which is probably what you're going to look at when you start going to a Rugby World Cup game. The Georgians, though, they're much like the Fiji sort of instance, where not in the same sort of attacking way, completely different team, but where they can actually really upset some teams. I like what Scotland has done. I really have enjoyed Scotland over these last 2 and 3 weeks. They've been fun. They've been exciting. They've really developed their style, and they've got a style that's their own, and they're embracing it. Something amazing to see. So they've got the continuity. They've got the teamwork. They've got everything going nicely. But Georgia are just a different sort of beast, aren't they? I think they're going to offer them a very different sort of challenge to maybe what they've seen from the other teams. 22 points is a lot. If you come at me with saying under 20, I would have been like, yeah, okay, I'll take Scotland that. But 22.5, that's a lot of points. And I, like you, I'd be tempted on the Georgians just to get under that. And how much are the Scots going to go, okay, we're up by, 14, 15, 16 points. Let's just make sure we don't kill anyone out here and break a leg or do anything stupid. We're 60 minutes in. We've got the game in the bag. Let's play some defense and territory and just get this one over with and make our way to France. If that's the mentality, then yeah, Georgia's certainly in for a chance and they could spring a surprise.
Right. Monsieur asking me if I'm going to be going to any other games. Unfortunately not. The bets haven't been going that well for me of lately that I've been able to afford them. But I must say that a lot of guys on the Good for the Game, whether it be on the forum who come on our show, Henrik is going to be over there. Jackal for Life is going to be over there. Harry Jones is going to be over there. So you could actually have a bit of a Good for the Game reunion right over there. Of course, I won't be present, so please don't do that, lads. No, I'm only kidding. I mean, it's going to be great for the guys going over there. And do you know any of your New Zealand guys going over? Any of your mates? You're not flying over yourself?
I wish. YouTube hasn't been going that well for me. Not yet. Not that I know of, actually. Most people, no, are all staying put. I know there's good groups that are going of the nice people that can afford to. But yeah, it would be great to go, wouldn't it? It would be amazing. The atmosphere. That's why we look at that opening match. I'm going off track massively here, but that match, France versus the All Blacks, I kind of, although, you want your team to win, the All Blacks to win, but I just feel like as an atmosphere and as an event and as an occasion, if France win that game, it's going to elevate this up a few notches of excitement levels for the fans. And if you're going to get a better atmosphere, people are going to go, France won. Wow. Okay, I want to get involved in this now. I want to go to their next game. We're winning. And just build that momentum for a fan base. And we'll just make the atmosphere and around the country, at the matches, just that much better.
Well, I'm going to also just beat off the track for a second here. I'm going to ask you, you mentioned your YouTube channel. I know you do lots of gaming stuff, but sum it up for the guys watching the show either live or afterwards. What do you do on your YouTube channel? And just call out the channel name as well in case anyone wants to go give you a follow there.
Yeah, so you can find me at Cornflake. It's pretty much the name of the channel. We do a lot of gaming stuff. We try to replicate real matches, AI-controlled stuff as well to see this team versus that team as they would play out, who would win matches, especially leading up to this World Cup. We also do a lot of
There's got to be a betting angle to that, Steve.
Everyone's betting on it in the chat. Trust me, everyone's putting money on it. We're doing a lot of streaming at the moment as well. We're just talking a lot of rugby. We've got a lot of guys that come in regularly and we discuss. I mean, what's great about this whole World Cup is that it's so close and so tight, and there's so many teams who are at a competitive level now. No one's agreeing on anything. So that's what's really exciting about it, that everyone's got their own thoughts and opinions of the game. So during the World Cup, we're going to be streaming during matches, watch parties and stuff like that as well. So if you want to have a good chat during the game, abuse some referees or players and stuff like that, we have all the sorts of fun. Come and check us out, say hi and hang out.
Excellent. Good stuff. Right, let's move on to the next game here. I haven't looked at this game very hard, I must admit. Spain plus 36.5 against Argentina. A big handicap, but you'd have to think that if Argentina put their minds to this, they should be able to blow Spain away.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's Argentina should smoke them. It shouldn't really be a contest for this one at all. I found these games with the non-World Cup sides going into it, there's a lot of opportunity for them to do something special, but end of the day, they're not up to the task. What I find interesting in the next match as well, I think it's the next one or the last one, where they have 2 15s equivalently playing. I'm just looking at their team, and they're actually going pretty full on for this game as well, Argentina. They got all the big guns out there. Sanchez is a 10. It's good to see him back in the starting lineup. But man, they are a good team. I think they'll smoke this one. I really do. I like the Argies. I really do like the Argentinians. They're exciting. They're fun to watch. Explosive, passionate. Yeah, just love them.
Darren Holiday coming in. Bet of the weekend, the Argies. Funny, that game you meant, you said, I think it was Argentina 15. I've got a feeling it's against Chile or something. It's the only game I haven't brought up the prices. So if anyone wants to mention the handicap in the live chat, we can have a look at that. Mark Dunphy saying Spain can get embarrassed. Let's move on to the next game now. We got Ireland here. They beat England by 19 points last week, Stephen. It really felt like the Irish didn't really get out of second gear. I mean, they certainly, understandably a little bit rusty. They played a game against Italy a couple of weeks before, but there were players returning. And yet they beat England by 19 points. And now they face a Samoa side that haven't been in particularly good form of late. They're certainly well capable of causing a few bruises and maybe pushing a big side close. But 25.5 is a big cap. Which way would you be going here?
It is very big. It is very, very big. What I find with the Samoans is that they just haven't had enough time to really get their game together. Good team on paper, good names, but just when they get into a squad sort of situation, it's just not sort of clicking. And they played the Barbarians last weekend. And if there's ever a team that really gauges you nothing about how a team's playing, it's when you play against the Barbarians. You can learn literally nothing about a team from that matchup. So yeah, Samoa had a up and down, good moments, bad moments in the Pacific Nations, but 25 points. I think Ireland will want to step up a gear here. I think I might like Ireland on this one because I think they've not been as convincing as they probably would like. I think that match against England probably shows more about how much trouble England are in, more than probably how bad Ireland sort of played or how unattached Ireland were in that game. But I think they'll want to put something out here. I think the Samoans won't be in that same sort of level. Samoa could cause trouble, I think, in this World Cup, but it'll be a game. They'll just click for one game, and it'll be a game when they really get their tails up, and they can become one of the best teams in the world. All those Pacific nations are like that. I think this build-up game, that intensity won't be there for them. They'll be looking forward to France, and Ireland, I think, will take this one quite comfortably.
Bring up that comment from WJS saying any Samoan team out. I didn't see anything, but I will be straight. I didn't really look for it either. Almost 4 tries clear, says Mark Dunphy. Ireland might do it, but not 100%. I think that's a good point, Mark. Ultimately, I think this handicap's quite well said. Cathal early on, it's saying Ireland players wanting to avoid injuries, the only chance that Samoa have. And I think that is a good point in the warm-ups as well. Like you said about Scotland earlier as well. They might get out in front and just decide after that to play a strategic kicking game. There is a strong Samoan team out, says Henrik there. Right, let's go on to the next game. It's a biggie, and it's France up against Australia. France minus 14.5 against Australia. Now, Australia have been fascinating to watch in the build-up. I mean, is Eddie Jones the absolute mastermind who deflects all the attention away from his team onto himself? Or is this the signs of a coach that's in heavy decline, making absolutely crazy decisions? What do you think? I mean, we got a strong French team going out there. We got I think a pretty decent Australian side. I mean, if you look at the squad they've selected, obviously there's some experienced guys not there, but they're not in the squad. They've selected a pretty strong side for me as well. I think we're in for a really good game here. What do you make of the handicap?
Yeah, 14.5 for France is interesting. Eddie Jones, he's both. Both of those options you said, he's both. He's a mastermind and he's an aging derelict, isn't he? He's a bit of both, but he is class. I'll go out and say he is absolute class. The way I found at that press conference at the airport, did you see that? When he absolutely gave it to the media there.
Negativity, yeah.
Yes, and how much did all of that focus on this young, inexperienced, questionable selections, the no hooper cooper, all that stuff just washed away, and everything was like on Eddie's lost the plot. Everything just washed away, and away go the Wallabies, away to the Northern Hemisphere in a little plane, and all that attention, all that focus is gone. He is a master. He should give up coaching and just be a media liaison. Just get a good coach that can't talk or speak English. I don't care. Don't have him in the media at all. Just have Eddie at the top and just get him to work his magic, because he just sucks that focus completely away from what he's done wrong, what he's messed up, or how poorly it's gone, and just diverts it in a way that I've seen very, very little people do at all whatsoever. This is going to be the big test for me. France are a very, very good side, and I think they have. They're one of my front runners. They are. Whenever I do a sort of prediction of how the World Cup's going to go, I always end up with France in the final. I think they are a great team. Even with the loss of Intermac, I still think they're going to be great. The Aussies, they need to really sort their stuff out before they get to the World Cup. This is an important game for them to sort out that team, and they need to keep, I think, that continuity from when they played their All Blacks in that last game, and they need to move that forward ahead of France. I think I would take France on this one. I think the Wallabies will do their typical. They'll have control for a stanza of the match, whether it be the start, the middle, or the end. They'll be in the game somewhere, and they'll either start off in a flurry, they'll fight their way back and then die, or they'll completely blitz it at the end but fall short. Somewhere in that, they're going to play their game. But the other parts of the game, I think France, as a much more developed side, a much more prepared side, a much stronger side, a much more clinical side, I think will take it away from them, regardless of the injury concerns, the player concerns. I just very much like what this French side are capable of, and the Wallabies just. I think this is the Wallabies team for 2027. Keep the squad in 2027, and they are going to be front runners if they can keep that continuity together. Right now, not their game, but development will be fantastic.
Another masterstroke by Eddie Jones. Get appointed ahead of the World Cup. Put a young side in, and if they win it, yes, I'm a genius. If they lose it, shit, guys, we're building for 2027. So exactly. Eddie's very, very best there again. I've got the Rugby World Cup outright betting scrolling down below now. Steve, let me just bring that banner up so when I look for the links afterwards, I can find it easy enough. Let's just talk a little bit about the Rugby World Cup. This is from a local South African bookmaker. 5-2 France. 5-2 New Zealand. They are the favourites now. I mean, they've sort of been trading as second favourites for the last year, but in recent weeks, New Zealand have moved into favourites. They're 5-2, 33-10 France. They have drifted slightly, and just as a matter of interest, France was slight favourites for the opening game against New Zealand, but after the French injuries, New Zealand are actually now the slight favourites. You've got 9-2, just under 5-1 South Africa and Ireland, 12-1 England, 12-1 Australia, 28-1 and better the balance. Now, I know you're a New Zealander, so I mean, I'm not going to expect you to tip any other team with confidence there, but if you had to have a look at those betting odds, is there anything that potentially stands out for you that says, gee, they've got an easy run, maybe they're a bit big or something along those lines, or is it going to be lump the baby on New Zealand at 5-2?
Those top four are my top four. They have been for months now. Going into it, the order may have changed the way they sit, but that's always been my top four teams. I think they are clear and away the favourites. As close as this World Cup's going to be, and you look at teams like England that could get that easy run into a semi-final, but they're going to hit a brick wall sooner or later. And I think because of their pool play, they're going to be tested earlier. If they get through there, they may get that sneaky quarter-final to get through into a semi. But either way you look at it, you've got to run into one of either New Zealand, France, Ireland, or South Africa to make it into the final. And they are my four to get into the final. And I think you're just going to get squashed. Whoever gets through there, Argentina, England, Wales, Australia, they all stop. They all hit a brick wall there. No matter what way around they get it, they're all going to hit one of those four teams. And they are my favourites. Geez, the odds are changing so much. To win the whole tournament, yeah, that's my top four. I couldn't pick one. If I had to lump it all on it, what would you lump it on? I like France being at home. I just like France being at home. And I like their story, the story of how many finals they've made now. They've not really got over the lump. It's almost like the All Blacks in 2011. You get a bit of affinity with that because it's been so long since they won 87 to 2011. They've been back at home, got that support going there, and it just reminds me a little bit of that. But if I was going to go off New Zealand, I'd definitely be going on France. I just think the mental capabilities for Ireland is going to be too much for them. That whole point of getting over that hurdle. They don't have to get over the hurdle of the final like France do. France has got that one hurdle to jump. Ireland's got 3 hurdles to jump, and that just seems like a stretch too far. As good as their team is, the mental state at this stage of a game, at this stage of a competition in the playoffs, I think it's just going to be 1 or 2 steps too far for them. And, the Springboks, geez, they could easily win it. They could easily go all the way and go back-to-back yet again. But being a New Zealander, we don't want anyone else to do that. That's our claim to fame, all right? So you guys just wait till 2027 and jump in between would be very, very nice. We'll take the back-to-back. But, yeah, I'll go New Zealand. New Zealand, France is my final. Always has been every time. I just can't look past them. I'll regret probably saying that.
I must admit, I was also, I mean, hard to argue. And I think this is, I've had a few guys on the show now. No one's nailed down a very confident outright selection, including myself. And normally at this stage of the World Cup, I know I am backing to win. I've taken a bit of Australia, but only because I thought at the time after the first half against New Zealand that they were sort of value because they'll make the semis and, anything can happen and that. But deep down, I don't expect Australia to win it. I agree with you. I think it's between those 4. But because they're in the same side of the draw, it's so hard for anyone to make a commitment at this stage. So very, very few people are getting too involved. There's plenty of other Rugby World Cup long-term markets. We won't talk about them now, but we'll do some shows going forward. You're going to have things like top point scorer, top try scorer. Those are the type of things we're gonna look at there. Just to have a look at a couple of the comments before getting into the best bets for the weekend. Ireland under the radar nicely, says Mark. And Henrik, yes, we know Henrik has been confident on the box. And I must admit, for me, the box, Henrik, I share your confidence on the one hand. And on the other hand, I'm worried about Scotland. It's a strange place to be. But I do feel the box have got if anything, they should be a better side than they were in 2019. And I think they're going to have to be a better side because they've got a much more difficult run to the final. Oracle thinks Ireland are going to win. Yeah, we'll have to have Oracle on the show again soon as well. But anyway, Steve, let's get into the best bets. And we don't have to be too specific about it, but anything you really fancy of the games that we chatted about this weekend, anything that stands out to you as a nice play?
Well, before I go into that, I did have one I actually was looking at before this. If there was selections you can do on semi-final, like, what's the word, surprise finishes, that would be what I would really look for teams like, I think Scotland are a great nudge. I look at that 45-1. I think they are going to be a troublesome team. I think you're right to fear that Scottish side because they look really, really tasty and exciting to play. And just teams like Fiji and stuff like that, because of the side of the pool they're on, if they can get things to go their way, they can get similar sort of sides that they can beat until they get to that brick wall of a semi-final. So that's where I'm looking at for that one. I did have something on the All Blacks game, and I can't remember what it was now on this one. What was I looking at? I found the Springboks were playing
tab New Zealand, eh?
What's that?
You better tab New Zealand for you guys.
Yes.
Are there many options there, or is it really just tab New Zealand?
So that's it. That's all we got. I like to keep it basic, and I was just looking through the margins on it, and I found the Springboks at near on $4 for 1 to 12 is a really good option, because this game, like we talked about earlier, could really, really go any sort of way, and that for paying that sort of money is huge. But we get heaps of options over here in terms of what they deliver, but in terms of options and different sort of agencies here, just the one, and that is all. And they're quite keen on refunding your money at the moment too, by the way. So if you are there, you can get some cheeky bets.
Lots of bookmakers obviously trying to tempt guys. Certainly in South Africa the market's very competitive. SA over 2.5 tries as Mondo's call. I think Mondo was replying to Southpaw's tweet there. So the guys like SA over 2.5 tries. I quite like the bet. I'm not sure that SA is the call there. I do think we're going to go for points and try and build the confidence of Mani Leboka a bit. But Steve, man, it's been absolutely great catching up with you. I take it back. I think the very first show you came on me was in 2019. Now, is New Zealand rugby in decline? And you were sort of on the one side, and then you had a whole bunch of South Africans telling you how bad New Zealand were, and I really felt for you there. But the nice thing is you can sit relaxed in your chair now, knowing that New Zealand rugby is well and truly back. We're in for one great World Cup, and I certainly hope to be catching up with you at some decent hours for the two of us, something around this sort of time during the World Cup, and possibly also in the lead up to the World Cup. Great having you on.
Sounds great. Look forward to it.
Excellent. And then to all the boys in the live chat, thanks for joining us at lunchtime or late at night, New Zealand time. Maybe you're coming back from the pub after Friday night. But great of you to join us. And we'll be in touch. I'll be sending the Best Bet newsletter out probably sometime early this evening. Thanks, everyone. Till the next edition of the Handicap. I'm not going to commit to a time because with the World Cup coming, things might change. But more than likely next Thursday night. See you then. Have a great